Hi guys, Luke here of SimBoxx in association with Clint Patrick, and today I'm delighted to be joined by trainer, promoter, and manager Joe Gallagher. How are we doing, Joe?
Yeah, not bad. Good to see you.
Yeah, always good to see yourself, Joe. On the back of a couple of huge announcements, some big fights coming up May 1st. But first and foremost, how's things with yourself?
Yeah, good. Quiet start to the year. Took some time off, obviously, off the back of the Callum Smith Canelo fight, and we got back into gym. I think it was like near the end of January. So yeah, everyone's been back in now a good 5-6 weeks, and near enough everyone's got a fight date in the gym now. So everyone's buzzing and ready to push on.
Fantastic. So as I say, May 1st, we had the recent announcement from Matchroom, 4 fights, 2 fights involving members of your stable. Let's get straight into it, Joe. The most high profile of the 2 fights, I think I'm right in saying, is the undisputed lightweight title fight between Katie Taylor and Tasha Jonas. A rematch, 8 or 9 years in the making. How excited are you for this challenge for Tasha Jonas?
No, I'm so pleased for her. Like you say, I've got to thank Brian Peters and Katie Taylor for taking the challenge. I know they're a mandatory or a cyborg fight, and Tasha's management company for really getting this over the line. Like you say, it's a fight that I know Sky always wanted, and it's something like Natasha always wanted. Like you say, it was 9 years ago. Friends reunited hashtag the other day. Utmost respect. Both girls have done absolutely brilliant for women's boxing. Look what Katie Taylor's gone and done. Won all the marbles. She's a hero back home in Ireland, and rightly so. And Tasha Jonas, what she's done, she was the first one to qualify female for Great Britain for the Olympics. First one to box at the Olympics for Britain female. She was involved in the Ring Magazine Fight of the Year last year with Terry Harper. That was the biggest female All England fight, world title fight there's been, and now she's the first English girl that's going to challenge for the undisputed title. If I'm right thinking there, so massive fight for Natasha Jonas and Katie Taylor, and I've seen a few things people saying, "Oh, Katie's this level," and that, but they all said it before with Terry Harper and Natasha. I'm telling you now, Katie Taylor's training hard, just as hard as she did for a fight with the Finn Pursoon and Jessica McCaskill, and that she knows Natasha Jonas is a serious challenge, and she wouldn't train any other way like that anyway.
Yeah, you know, I had in my notes here some list of facts surrounding the fight, and you've gone through them all there. Be it that Tasha Jonas,
Right.
the first involved in an all-British world title fight, and now she's the first English woman to challenge for the undisputed titles, of course. But where's Tasha at mentally? You know, we had the disappointment, if you like, of the fight with Terry Harper, a draw that felt like a loss, but to rebound, you know, there's been a few months, and maybe we expect her in the ring in late 2020. There's been a few months now since that fight, but to rebound into arguably the biggest fight in women's boxing in Katie Taylor. She's, you know, number 1 or number 2 on the pound for pound list of female boxers. So to bounce back into such a great fight, where's Tasha mentally? She, you know, fully focused, I'm sure, on the fight, but very excited.
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously disappointing of not being crowned world champion hurt her, hurt everything. I think there's only 2 people that saw Terry winning that fight. Everyone all around the world. So it was a shame that she didn't leave during the night with the belt. But she knows, and like I said, Tasha, everyone knows. I mean, it's like Macklin Sturm. Everyone knows you won the world title that night. Can't do nothing about it. And let's just move on. So her mindset's very good. She's very focused. She's been in the gym training very well since the end of January. And we're in a good place now for pushing on. Don't forget now, she's coming up a weight division to lightweight, from super featherweight to lightweight. So that's got to suit her. She's lifting heavier than she's lifted before. She's stronger. She's getting good sparring in with bigger people, and we've changed a few things up now to replicate for Katie Taylor. So it's got to be a good fight, and really looking at it. But Natasha's beforehand, she was very sure she was got to win against Terry Harper. She went in there coming out knowing that she can do that, can compete at that level, and is a world champion level. And that belief, that inner belief, that mentality, she's fully locked on here now.
It's exciting to hear, John. I don't want to go over too much old ground, you know, and tread a path that's already been trodden, but Why didn't we see a rematch with Terry Harper, given that it was such a closely contentious fight? And in the day and age of, you see Alexander Povetkin and Dillian White, they're rematching instantaneously, Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, of course, Wilder and Fury. Such a closely contested fight, a world title fight between Terry Harper and Tasha Jonas. Why didn't we see the rematch? And is that boxed off now? Is that something you've moved on for? Or do you think there could be a day and a time in the future where we might see the rematch still?
Listen, the reason why that didn't happen, certain people phoned, got somebody made a mandatory challenger for Terry Harper, and that was that fight to stop Natasha having an immediate rematch, although she was promised to get an immediate rematch. Then it came with a fight offer of 3 bouts where Terry Harper would be the 3rd fight in it, and that's like, what? It's so... Like anything, people can offer you to buy the car off you for a £5. Doesn't mean it's the right offer, does it? So, but they can run away saying, well, at least offer to buy the car off you, mate. Do you know what I mean? So if they were serious about it, that they could have done it, do you understand? But Sky, listen, the people involved that didn't make it happen, like you say, the ring fight of the year, I think it's up there for the British Boxing Awards fight of the year as well. And as you say they're doing a rematch of Dillian White Povetkin on pay-per-view, but you couldn't. It is what it is, but that's done, gone, and we're fully focused on becoming undisputed on May the 1st.
Fantastic. And Joe, we touched on it slightly before, but 2 absolute flag bearers for women's boxing. And you only have to look at last night's Sky Sports bill, and you've seen Ramla Ali and Ellie Scotney on there, and in Tasha Jonas and Katie Taylor, 2 flag bearers that are leading the way on a world scene and inspiring the next generation to come after them.
Yeah, no, definitely. The fallout from Olympics, the girls have done well. Nick Adams has done well. Savannah Marshall now has become a world champion. Chantel Cameron as well. And even at my academy last year, we had 5 or 6 girls intake, and 4 of them, I think, were national champions. So years ago, it was just Jane Couch, and now it's become like Nick Adams and then Savannah Marshalls and Tasha and Katie. They're leading the way. As you've seen last night, the depth is beginning to get a little bit bigger now. When you have the Bridges and the Shannon Courtney fight, that's not a world title fight. Do you understand that? And that's putting women's boxing 5 steps backwards. Do you understand? They make it an intercontinental, regional, or whatever. But because it isn't the depth and talent. But if you look in them rankings, I'm sure there's a good Mexican and good Thailand. They're all going, hang on, we'll fight for that world title. We're better qualified. But fair play to them for getting that opportunity. But when you're looking at Natasha Jonas, Katie Taylor as a world title of all the marbles, and then you look at that fight, and that's supposed to be a world title, and it's boxing that has a habit of giving each other a black eye now and again, and they should have made it an intercontinental, European, whatever. Do you understand? But I don't think it's there for the. But who am I? Listen, the girls have got an opportunity to become a world title, become a world champion. And if that's down to there isn't many people in the weight division, so be it. It's been the same for the men for the years at the very small weights, straw weights, minimum weight. So good luck to them. Tasha and Katie, what they've done has been unbelievable. I'm very surprised Natasha Jonas has never been rewarded in the Queen's Honour list for the stuff that she's done for female boxing. Being the first woman to represent Britain at the Olympics and qualify, and the work that she does with kids and disadvantaged children outside of boxing as well. She's a fantastic role model, a huge inspiration, a mother, and she's balancing a boxing life with looking after her daughter as well. So I think there should be more plaudits and accolades going Natasha Jonas's way.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly second that, John. I'm sure win, lose or draw, a good performance against Katie Taylor, certainly if she's victorious, will put her name right up in those lights where it belongs.
Well, as long as we have 3 of the world's very best judges ringside, we'll get the right decision. But we've been through that, and that last time, and it ain't got to happen this time. And I'll make lots of song and dance, and I don't know the script. There'll be radio silence, Gallagher kicking off again. But hang on a minute, this woman put her heart and soul last time and came away without the belt. She's here again. Now, Define Passoon, Katie Taylor, it's 2-0, Katie, but could so easily been 2-0 Define Passoon or 1-1. We want the best judges in the world for this fight. People say, it won't go the distance. All right, and it won't, but I still want the best judges in the world and the best referee as well. So there's huge things at stake here, and we want a level playing field.
Absolutely. Joe, let's move on to the second fight that's involving your stable on the bill. May 1st. And this one was a bolt from the blue. If we did know a little bit, and there was whispers online of Taylor against Jonas, there certainly wasn't anything of Chris Eubank Jr. taking on Marcus Morrison. A great fight, a great opportunity for Marcus on a big platform.
Yeah, no, listen, for Marcus, he's 28 years of age now. He's been around. He came off a really good win in Italy when he went over there really to be on the opposite side, pulled it off. He fought on my show last year. He's in the gym. And like you say, I said to everyone when they came in the gym, no one's got to give you any favours. You've got to be in the gym. Once the crowd start coming back and the shows open up, the phone's got to ring. And that's what happened with Marcus Morrison. The phone rang, answered, and put it to Marcus. And what a huge opportunity. I don't think there's one fighter in the country that I'd say no. And Marcus was the one that got the call, took it. And it's a huge opportunity for him. Marcus can punch. And I'd say that's what he's got, a puncher's chance. Eubank Jr. Has been at the top level. He had a great fight with George Groves. He hasn't fought for a while. He's coming under now with Roy Jones Jr. Everyone wanting to see the improvements he's made there. But it is what it is. It's a huge platform for Marcus Morrison. Denzel Bentley's fighting Felix Cash in his weight division. So there's nothing to open up there at the moment. So, like you say, it's a great opportunity. It's got to go in. It's in a win-win situation. And listen, Marcus Morrison will be going in there to win that fight. He's not going in there to make the numbers. And yeah, like you say, it's an exciting fight for Marcus.
Looking at their records and the level that both guys have fought at, I think it'd be safe to say that Marcus goes into this fight as an underdog, a live underdog, of course. But given that he's recovered from setbacks previously in his career and he's on a good run of form, do you think he's going to adapt well to being the underdog and the fact that the pressure's off? And as you say, it's kind of a win-win situation. He goes in there. If he gets the victory, then that's amazing. It turns his career around and it takes him up levels and levels. But if he goes in there and maybe loses but puts up a good performance, there's other fights there ahead for him.
Yeah, no, he was the underdog out in Italy. And you've got to remember as well, boxing, this is what makes boxing the sport so good. The kid that fought Josh Warrington was a huge underdog the other week, come over from Mexico. Do you understand? I'm not trying to class Marcus Morrison, but boxing is boxing. Do you understand? Anything can happen. And yeah, there's no pressure on Marcus. He's a nice kid. He's just become a dad. He's not fought for a year. Needs wages, needs paying. And you got to remember as well the Jason Wellborn fight. I think it was round 2 or 3. The ref nearly stopped it. Do you know what I mean? He turned his back. Fair play to Wellborn. He came in, but maybe a little bit too soon. Wellborn being around, being experienced, he toughed it out, and it was a hard fight for him. But he's learned, he's adapted, he's come back, and Wellborn went on to win the British title. So there's no shame in that. So it's like there's learning fights along the way. I've seen people say, "Oh, we lost to that kid over 4 rounds." Yeah, he did. But Andy Crawler lost to an ice cream van, man. Do you know what I mean? So it's all part of the journey and your setbacks and how you learn from them. Do you understand? We all can't be. There's too much fixation with zeros and everything else. So it's listen. At the end of the day, the kid's going in to fight, and he's going in there to give it the best he's got, and he will be doing.
Joe, how satisfying of a win was it when he went out to Italy and he knocked out Bandamore? It was a sensational knockout. As you say, he almost went out there as, I don't want to say cannon fodder, but he was definitely the away fighter. He went in there, he upset the odds, and it was a savage knockout. And again, it's really put his career back on track. But how satisfying of a win was that for yourself and for the team?
Yeah, no, listen, it was a brilliant win. Like you say, he got the win, he got the title, put him in the spotlight, and everyone thought, oh, he's getting tired now, and he pulled it out. So, like you say, it's good, but everyone who knows, who's been to the gym and seen Marcus spar, knows he can whack. You know what I mean? There's been plenty of people rolling around on the canvases in our gym after sparring Marcus Morrison. And like you say, we know, and he knows what he carries. Do you understand? In them gloves of his. And we're just looking forward to the fight.
Fantastic. Joe, let's just get a quick word on the other 2 fights that have been announced. I'm sure there'll be more to add on May 1st, but the main event, or co-main event with Katie Taylor against Tasha Jonas, is Derek Chisora against Joe Parker. How do you see that fight going down?
I think someone asked me the other week, and I said, well, what's the point? It's like, all right, it's Chisora Usyk. It is what it is. And David Hayes doing a good job keeping Chisora relevant. Joseph Parker. I seen something on that the other day. Someone had said in the gym the other day he's got some issues with legal issues at home. So I don't know if that fight would happen. Do you understand? So it is what it is, the fight. So, yeah, the winner. I would have liked to have seen Parker Fury too, Yui Fury, to see could he avenge that loss that time. Yeah, but Derek Chisora, Parker. Chisora gave it his all against Usyk. He was always like second best in that fight. Parker, quick hands, feet. It's but can they both get up for each other? They're not fighting a Usyk, or they're not fighting a Tyson or a Joshua. Yeah. It's whether they can get up for it against Parker, and can Parker get up for against Chisora. Like, does that make sense? Yeah. And the one that doesn't will get found out. Listen, Derek Chisora could knock him out, and Derek Chisora could not be asked him here for the money, and Parker could outbox him. So it's that type of fight. So be interesting. I couldn't pick a winner.
Another interesting fight on the card is Dimitri Bivol against Craig Richards. Now, given that
you've got
in your stable, you've got Callum Smith moving up to light heavyweight, so I'm sure you're a bit more intrigued by this fight.
Yeah, great fight. Really, really, really good fight. We took the Bivol fight last year. I don't know what happened to it, but we said yes to fight. But for Craig Richards, he's learned his trade. He's coming along nicely. It's a shame, really, because Richards there, when he won the British and Commonwealth, I thought that'd be a good fight. Craig Richards versus Josh Boatse. A big London fight. Both kids against each other. Josh Boatse just vacated the British. He had that bit of a fight. I thought him and Richards would have been a very good fight. Joe like they did Coley Chamberlain at the time. They called it London beef, whatever. But to see who the best light heavyweight in London would be, I think that was a really good fight. Maybe he could do it after. But listen, fair play to Craig Richards. He stepped up and he's going in. And listen, Craig Richards, he's, from what I've been told and can see, he can punch a little bit. He's got long range and he's improved and he's got confidence. Bivol, listen, very good fighter, Bivol. We were there up close when he fought Joe Smith. Smith caught him later on. Joe Smith's huge, isn't he? He can hit. It's an interesting fight. Listen, I hope Craig Richards does well, but I just think Bivol's just that little bit cute. He has to be on his game because Craig can punch. I just think Bivol, just all-round season, is just a bit too much for Craig Richards, but I've got to applaud him for stepping up to fighting Bivol. He's done similar to what Callum Johnson did. No one wanted to fight B2B heavyweight and did it. And same for Craig Richards. Full credit to him.
Absolutely, full credit to Craig Richards for stepping up there. Joel, I wanted to nip through your stable, get a quick word on a few of your fighters, but leading into that, last night at Turbiev, he defended his light heavyweight world title. He knocked out Adam Daines, his mandatory challenger.
Yeah.
Switching over to your stable, of course, you've got Callum Johnson, recently linked up with Frank Warren. He'll certainly be interested in the rematch of Turbiev. Did you catch that fight last night?
Yeah, I was watching that fight. I missed some that was on the other channel. I was watching B2BF. They had some good fights in the undercard as well, but B2BF, yeah, I didn't think... There's a couple of things I didn't know whether you could take it. B2BF didn't get out of second or third gear, or he was slipping and it wasn't as sharp as what it was. He looked a little bit flat. Does that make sense? I think it's like, all right, I'm in with someone. It isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I'll just take my time. And he did. Adam Daines, a good fighter. We had him over there sparring for Callum Smith when he was getting ready for John Ryder. That's who we were using. So we knew he was tough. He was strong. Bit of a unit on him. And listen, he did very well to get there. That B2BF that turned up last night, Callum Johnson beats, and Canelo beats. Callum Johnson loves the rematch, would want the rematch. There'll be a huge announcement. There'll be an announcement on his next fight, back in the ring from 2 years out. So that'll be happening very soon. So really excited with that. And we've got Joe Smith happening coming up as well in his world title fight. So the plan for Callum Johnson is to get a fight and let's go and get one of them world titles, whether it be B2BF or Joe Smith, or let's get it on. I do think Callum Johnson B2BF is a good fight, a rematch from what happened in the first fight. And I think Joe Smith and Callum Johnson's a good fight. Callum Johnson rated very well when he fought twice over there in America in the zone. He's got a backstory. And I think Joe Smith and Callum Johnson, them two going at it, I think everyone would love to watch and see that fight. That's a proper throwback fight. No one's got to give any ground. Both have got to go at it. And it's like, I've said it, be like a light heavyweight Gatti Ward. I think both kids will just absolutely go at it. That's a great TV fight. The winner is the winner and the loser is the loser. But I just think it's a great fight. And it's one that we're very excited about having.
Yeah, it's a great fighting prospect, Joe. Is he a worry with Callum Johnson? Of course, the inactivity, and I know the pandemic happened, and he had, a stop-start relationship with Matchroom. He switched over to Frank Warren now, but we hope that he's going to be more active. Is there a worry that the 2-year layoff might affect him? You're not going to know really until he gets in there, I guess.
No, listen, he's been in the gym, he's training, and you've seen in lockdown he was always physically training, flipping tires, cycling rides, whatever he was doing, whatever challenge people challenge him to, did it burpees. No, he's in the gym, he's sparring, he's done like 4 or 5 weeks sparring now, shaking off the ring rust, and we're going into the next 3-4 weeks of intense sparring. So, no, he's in a good place. You've got to remember, we sat down because he's when we've been studying, and we're watching Duran and Barkley, and how Duran at 37 rolled back the years and beat Barkley at age 28. Then we watched Leonard and Hagler, how Leonard had been out of the ring for 3 years and came back. Callum turned around and went, what can I hope for me? I've only been out 2 years, and I'm only 35. Do you know what I mean? So just them things, it's how you look after yourself. He's always looked after himself. There's no miles on the clock, and he's good. He'll be ready. And yeah, I understand that. He hasn't had done many rounds now, but the fights that he's been in, he's knocked them out. He knocked Sean Monahan out. BTB went short. He knocked Fran Buglioni out. The one before that, I think he went 9 rounds when he knocked for the Commonwealth title. So yeah, he hasn't had the rounds out, but he's in the gym, he's training, he'll be fit. His weight's down, like I say, 168 is a division that is an option for us. If something happened there, he can do super middleweight. So no, it's like I say, if you look after yourself in this sport, like you say, and Callum Johnson is okay.
Callum Johnson at super middleweight is a scary prospect. He's a big puncher at 175, so if he carried that power down, that'd be a
there's no problem. We never really campaigned at 168 because Callum Smith was there. Yeah. But either opportunity at 168, any world champions there at 168, Callum Smith will fight as well. Callum Johnson will fight as well. There's too many Callums in the gym now. I've got signed Callum Thompson, I've got Callum Smith and Callum Johnson. It's like they're all being abbreviated. CJ Mundo and the other one's Tomo. So that's it.
Fantastic. Let's move on to Callum Smith. How has he reacted to that first career defeat against Canelo? There's no shame in losing to the very best in the world, but it was the first career defeat. How has he recovered from that mentally more than physically?
Yeah, well, I've seen a few interviews that Callum's done and on his reflection and stuff. I've not had much dialogue with Callum. It was a tough year last year. He was in the gym, and then there was promise of a fight in May with Canelo. Then we're back in September. Oh no, it might be December, and then to get short notice and fight in the pandemic. Listen, I had a tough time. I said to him at the airport, listen, just go home, enjoy family time, stay out of the gym, have a really good break. If you come back, you want to come back, great. It's for the right reasons. Don't be rushed to come back. And that's it. I just want him to enjoy life. He's 30 years old. He's got a fiance. He's got a young daughter. Enjoy some good quality time. Do you understand? You've won everything in boxing. If you want to continue, I'll back you. If you want to retire, I'll back you. But just try and switch off from boxing. He's got a good family around him, and that's it. So the things that I've read is all about coming back and all that. Well, great. So we'll see. But yeah, it seems to get over. Like anything, it hurts. It hurts. And as a coach, it's great when you have your high nights, but when you have your low nights, the low, and there's nothing worse than drive homes with Tasha Jonas getting knocked out, crying her eyes out, Callum Smith breaking down, crying in changing rooms, the girlfriends in tears, Paul Smith, Crawler. They've all had them nights, and they're bad places to be in. I hate it. I'm just like, let's just pack up and go. I don't want to sit here around there moping and get out, but they've just got to get it out of the system. And like you say, Callum there got out of his system, and it takes a while for it to sink in as well. And yeah, hopefully Callum Smith is back, and it'll be in a good place. And if he wants to continue at 175, then I'll support him in that.
Fantastic. Touching on Callum Thompson there, recent signing, yet to make his professional debut. But tell us a little bit about Callum Thompson, and for those that might not know about him.
He's going to be, listen, I think he's a kid off the radar, very much like Callum Smith. Callum Smith didn't make that Olympic team, didn't get much thought about. Had his first 2 pro fights, won on points. Callum Thompson, part of GB, 60-kilo kid. The weight division got scrapped. He was too small for the weight above and too big for the weight below. We brought him in for sparring with Quigg last year. He's been in around training. I've signed him now, and he's an exciting addition, and I'll be waiting for him to make his professional debut. We're working on a few things at the moment. but he's an exceptional talent, and he's somebody that will be looking to move quite quickly. And I know everyone's going to really enjoy watching Callum Thompson fight. There's lots of people out there, but this kid, I'm not sure whether he can sell tickets, but he's got talent. And I'll tell you now that the people who sign him, who get this kid, really have got a talent, and it will be one of the most exciting kids in British boxing.
Joe, you sold it to me. I'm signed up. I'm excited for the.
I don't see everyone that comes in the gym seeing it. Do you know what I mean? So I'll tell you, whoever gets the kid will absolutely think, "Wow, we've got something special here."
Fantastic. Moving on through the stable, a quick word on Paul Butler and Hosea Burton. Both guys looking to be active in 2021.
Yeah, Ofe, he said he was speaking to MTK to see can he get a date fight, so waiting on that. Paul Butler, there'll be an announcement very soon. He'll be involved in a decent fight coming up, so that's good news for him as well. So the gym's just buzzing. Everyone's got dates in the gym. There's a real good vibe, real good energy. And the fact that it's announced, I'm glad it got announced the day Tasha and Marcus is, because they've had all weekend to do their interviews, get rid of all the energy and come back in on Monday and concentrate. So, no, the gym's a very positive place at the moment. And Paul Butler, he's got his fight date. That'll be announced very soon in a big fight. And Callum Johnson, Sam Hyde will be back in soon now. He was messaging me last night saying all that Callum Smith. So I think he's a smart kid, Sam. He's got a business and a gym, so he's sorting all that out first. So, yeah, no, exciting times. I think Crawler has got Alex de Maglia. He's out soon as well. And yeah, no, good. We've got one or two more kids possibly signing up with us very soon as well.
Exciting times. You know, you mentioned Anthony Crawler there. You've got Scott Quigg as well, two former members of the Joe Gallagher stable. Now they're trainers themselves. How proud of you to see these guys come through, have their careers, call it a day, and now they're turning their hand to training as well. What's the relationship like between you and them, and then them and their fighters?
Yeah, no, brilliant. Listen, Crawler is still in the gym working with me 3 days a week. He brings his fighters in on the Fridays. They join in, all part of it. Rihanna does some sparring with Natasha. James does some moving about with Marcus and training. And they all enjoy it because they're in the gym and they're rubbing shoulders with Olympians and world title challengers and champions from world championships. It's great for them. And for Scott as well, Quigg, he's got a couple of fighters there now. And Tanya, she's doing really well. And they're in the gym and they're training their fighters, and Anthony is, and it's just great seeing them develop from fighters, because it's a very difficult stage of the career when they retire, and all of a sudden what they're not used to. They used to get up in the morning, go to the gym, doing this, and they're sat at home not doing anything. So now they're getting up and going at the gym, but they're training, and they need that confidence as well that they are good at what they're doing. What they're doing is right in what they're saying, and it's good for them, as opposed to have a bit of a safety net in the gymnasium for me to say, yeah, Joe, doing well there, they're improving there, Kroll, coming on him there, but she's coming on Scott, and just little re-endorsements, because it's different, isn't it, when you become a coach? You don't know if you're telling them the wrong things or saying the wrong things, but both fighters were very dedicated, very determined, very focused, and I think that same attribute they'll use in coaching. What they've both got is huge experience as fighters on the big night, but also being in the corner with me on fight night. So they know that side of it very well. So I just think Manchester Boxing's in a very healthy place going forward.
That's great to hear. And I think, you know, you mentioned there about guys when they retire, or boxers in general when they retire, and, you know, they don't necessarily have that routine of going to the gym and training and focusing on a fight date as such. And, you know, there's no two, I'd like to say, no two harder trainers than Crawler and Quigg. They really lived the life, whether they had a fight date or not. So I think for those two especially, you know, they weren't ones to go out and put on loads of weight and get out of shape and do too much socializing. He was very hard working. So it's not a surprise to me personally to see them go into training and managing and coaching, given that they like that routine and putting that energy back into boxing. Yeah,
it's in great shape. You might see the odd pictures. Crawler's always in between breaks, jumping down, doing ton-ups with the fighters, doing chins and dips. He's still only just over a stone over his fighting weight. Scott the same, he's training. So as I've heard Crawler say to a couple of his, I'm not asking you to do anything that I can't do myself, is his line. That's what he seems to be throwing out to all these fighters all the time. And it's just mad. It's like Crawler sometimes, he goes, Joe, I'm coaching. I think so. Jesus, I'm beginning to sound like Joe. I said, you don't want to be like that, Kroll, but it's just great. I'm very proud of them. Do you know what I mean? They were great servants to the sport. They put Manchester on the map. We had great nights at the arena for 10 years with Quigg and Crawler on together, then separately. And now we're going moving forward coaching. They'll do well, the pair of them. I'm very proud of the pair of them. In the gymnasium, like I said to these, listen, there's no Quigg Crawler in the gym no more to motivate you, inspire you, and dedicate you. Now, Callum Johnson and Paul Butler, use of the Quigg and Crawlers, you have to be the ones to inspire these next generations, the Callum Thompson and everyone else in the gym. Do you understand? You've got to carry the baton. And they are, to be fair. Butler's a good trainer, because Crawler and Quigg, they were absolutely driven by my mentality of the old school. Do you know what I mean? Don't be loads overweight. Don't be this. Hard work, staying in the gym, focus and learning your craft. And they've picked up the baton.
Absolutely. Joe, one of the downsides or many of downsides to 2020 with the pandemic was the loss of small hall boxing, and your own M22 Promotions stable was really taking flight. You had some really good shows. It was a pleasure to be there for some of the shows, and the likes of Sam Hyde against Dion Juma. What a great fight that was. But is that something you'd be looking to pick back up with when boxing resumes, full time, and you can get crowds back in? Is that something you're still passionate about?
Yeah, definitely 100%. It was a shame the lockdown, because we were just about to announce a really good show with really good fights on it. And it was another step up, a bigger venue. And it was something we were quite confident on pulling off. And I was really proud to see the Sam Hyde Dion Juma fight that we won on purse bids. And it was up for one of the fights of the year. And the review from Boxing News and the atmosphere for a Sunday afternoon, it was unbelievable. It was great. So, yeah, that's something definitely that we want to do. And it'd be interesting to see the situation with Sky and Eddie Hearn, whether they go back to other promoters. I just feel I have a bee in my bonnet at the moment that all the boxing promoters with TV deals are all in London. There's no promoters outside of London with TV, and I do feel there's promoters up here. There's Carl Greaves. He's down south, but over to that side of the world, Boston, Lincolnshire. But up here we've got Steve Woods, do you understand? And we've got promoters up here that we could get TV deals, do you understand? And there's lots of talent. And I think what's happened with boxing over the lockdown, what showed, there's really good fighters that can fight that aren't necessarily ticket sellers. So you've seen the ticket sellers who've had to fight on lockdown getting beat to the fighters that can fight. Now, these kids that can fight are the usual ones that are on small hall shows that can't get that Sky slot or BT slot or Channel 5 slot. But there's loads of them. And I'd just love to be able to get a couple of them TV dates and put them shows on, do you understand? 4 English title levels, 4 British title levels. Central, there's good fights to be made. Like I remember years ago, you had like Wallace Swift against Ozzy Maddox and Tony Akubian, and just proper hard men having fights going back then, do you understand? For English titles and Southern area titles and proper good fights. Patrick Mullins, Spencer Oliver was a Southern area title fight. Do you understand? Because the bigger promoters now can cherry pick, do you understand, and put on, and they can put on, but literally YouTube fighters now, because they've got huge YouTube following, where the proper fighters can't get a look in now. Does that make sense? Unless you're a big ticket seller, you've got a big following. And it was very good pleased to see Bradley Ray get an opportunity last night. He's a kid that's grown, come up. But Hattons have got kids in the gym. Michael Jennings has got kids in the gym. I put his kid on the gym on my show that won the Central Area title. So Mark Jeffers. So Steve Maylett's got fighters. Manchester's buzzing with absolutely some great talent. Bobby Rimmer's got some great fighters in his gymnasium. It was just getting them opportunities, and by having, whether you want to call it old school Friday night fight nights or midweek boxing, do you know what I mean? Remember when Frank Warren did back to school boxing shows, them type, do you know what I mean? Steve, they did the Next Generation shows, but they've gone, do you know what I mean? But not for them to do it, but for us, I'd do 3-4 shows a year of them. Do you understand? The Next Generation, back to school for them, beginning, middle of the road. Because what's happening is, you see at the moment, fighters are skipping British title level and going into continentals and then getting beat in European title fights at world title levels. Yet they've not really done it at British level yet. We've got to keep the depth of quality of British title fights there, and we're losing good fights at British title level because they're skipping it and going onwards, do you know what I mean, into continentals. And we've got to get back to making that British title valuable and proud to be owned and fought for, and to say I won the British title, I won that belt outright, do you understand? And I feel it's being overlooked a little bit now more. Do you know what I mean? Felix Denzel Bentley is a great fight, and I'm really pleased. That's one, do you understand? But there needs to be more of them fights.
Absolutely, Joe. I can see there that you're very passionate about this, but how does this come to fruition? You know, like you say, you've got yourself, you've got Kieran Farrell with a good stable, Steve Mailer, Pat Barrett. There's a lot around this area, but how does this come to fruition? You know, do you sit down and have like a meeting? Do you do it over Zoom? I'm not sure, but as you say, there's a lot of talent in such a condensed area, and it's something that, if done correctly, could be fantastic.
No, it could do, but it's like anything. It's like TV. The main thing is to get television. But the television, Sky, they're just interested in stadium fights. Eddie Hearn has a monopoly on that. So no one's got to look in there. Or if you do get a slot, it'll be Eddie giving Callie Southerland a slot, or Eddie giving someone else a slot. It's just that. Like you say, MTK have done good doing the ESPN, YouTube's. That's been really popular. That was a great show the other night in Bolton. That was good. Do you understand? Seeing Lee McGregor versus Kieran Griffith, that was a good fight. He exploded really well. So they've had that platform and YouTube, do you know what I mean? And that pot of money to do that. But we're not all like that, are we? We need Channel 5. I've approached Channel 5 numerous times saying, well, we'll have a few shows. You've worked with Mick Wiggins and you worked with Hennessy, but there's some great talent up here and up north. And while Mick is arranging a date here for this show or for a finger, let's do some of that there. Or BT, do you know what I mean? There's a current crop of fighters, and they have to go in the away corner. It's like Ryan Charlton beating Joseph Laws, was it? Do you know what I mean? They've got to go on the away gig to prove themselves, do you understand? And then they go, oh, you're in, do you understand? So it's that's what you've got to do. They've got to be ready. And but there is a real good load of talent, and it's a shame really, because we're losing a lot of fighters because of that. Because some fighters, oh, you don't sell tickets, can't put you on the show. Some fighters are fighting, from what I hear, I'm fighting, and they're not even covering the purses. They're fighting for nothing. That's terrible, because they didn't sell enough tickets. We've got to help and feed it down, and it all can't be up at the top. We need to get television, and just like I like to think years ago, Jack Trickett in Manchester, Nat Basso, Free Trade Hall, always put on shows. Phil Martin at the Near Centre or New Century Hall. They were just enough to keep him going, do you understand? And Steve Woods has been doing it for an awful long time. Do you know what I mean? Kieran Farrell's doing it. Do you know what I mean? Pat Barrett's done a few. I've done a few. So we need to keep going. And like you say, I think boxing's been really good, and it's amazing that we do have it on so many channels now. You can watch it on Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, streaming, TV, whatever. But yeah, it needs to be divided. I just think that's too much of a monopoly, that all the TV deals are all with Southern-based boxing promoters, and I just think that's wrong. I really want to. Barney Francis isn't with Sky no more. There's a new fella. I really want to get in and have a meeting with him. I'd like to have a meeting with the head of Channel 5 Sport. I'd like to have the meeting of BT and come to a deal and an agreement. And listen, the pie is big. We don't want a pie, but we just want a little slice of the pie. And whether it's a very much like, how can I put it? It's like huge football clubs having feeder clubs. Does that make sense? So whether we did a deal that we do shows and the kids that are coming through have a pathway into BT or have a pathway into Sky, or have do you understand that there's ways about it, but there's lots there, and I think there should be more. Like Liverpool, unbelievable amount of fighters there. Manchester, do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Definitely, though, if we can all match your passion for it, I'm sure something will come of it moving forward. Something else that you are highly passionate about, of course, is the Gallagher's Academy. Tell us a little bit about that, Joe. And, you know, I've seen it online. You've got some virtual opening evenings and things like that. What is the Gallagher's Academy to people that might not know, and what's the thought behind it?
Yeah, well, the Joe Gallagher Academy now, it's been going on, I think it's 3 years now, 4 years, and it's been very hard over the last 12, 18 months in pandemic to be running an academy, doing online tutoring, education provider. He's done a fantastic job. And the coaches that we have in there, Elliot Dillian and Tony Chandler, they've done brilliant as well. To keep that now, last year, with everything, we still all the students passed the maths and English, and they all came out with the qualifications, which I was hugely proud about. And our recruitment last year for the September taking that just happened, we got the full numbers again. So we've done, these are on virtual. So we've done it again this year. We're doing another virtual, done 3 or 4, and the numbers look like we're going to do the quota. So, like I say, it's fantastic. It's for 16 to 18-year-olds. And the best way of describing it, there's lots of academies here, there, and everywhere. The Joe Gallagher Academy is one of 6, I think it is, or 7 England boxing academies. Now, the England boxing academies are called DICE academies, run by DICE. Now, it's like the England football FA. They've got FA academies all up and down the country. Now, you can have your David Beckham Academy, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's part of the England FA Academy. Okay, so the Joe Gallagher Academy is part of the 6. There's one in Bristol, there's one in Birmingham, there's one in London, one in Brighton, one in Newcastle. So it's part of that. So them academies are part of the England boxing pathway programme. So they're the ones that they get looked at. They'll get looked at with the England coach. We have a great relationship. He comes out to the academies, sees the fighters. So that's the proper pathway. I know other people open academies, but that's approved by England Amateur Boxing Association. So we have that stamp of approval, which I'm really proud of that. So with that and the education provided, the 16, 18-year-olds that come in, they do their physical work in the mornings, Monday to Thursday, and then they have dinner. Then after dinner, then they do the education for the maths, their English, and everything else. So that's good. So it's a wide range of things that they cover on the course with the boxing, whether they want to go into sports psychology, whether they want to do counselling, which seems to be popular. A couple of girls have gone and left and gone to university. Some have gone on to Brad Ray, was a product of one of the being on the academy, which is good, and he performed last night. So yeah, there's all that for them as well, whether they want to go to sports journalism, different things, do you know what I mean? Whether they want to become a coach, different things, not necessarily to be a boxer. So I was very passionate that we didn't shut the door on kids who didn't get the right A's and B's and C's, because life isn't about A's, B's and C's. And at an age of 16, they could be brilliant boxers, but no good at academic. But they come on the course, and by the end of it, there's an academic course in place to make sure that they finish with the basic maths and English and other stuff. Do you understand? And it's all in place. So it's a proud, because they've got to be able to have something to fall back on as well. Now, on top of that, now I've started the Joe Gallagher Foundation. With that, the couple of girls that have got involved now, they're part of the foundation. They're going on a coaching core program. They go into schools. They talk to children at 16 and 17. All that type of stuff. So it's just expanding all that. I'm very proud of the work that's going on with the academy and with the foundation at the moment.
It's very exciting, Joe. It's amazing.
Sorry if I rambled on a little bit there, mate, but it's
because
I'm very proud of it.
I've seen bits and bats on social media of what you do, and I've looked into it, but to hear it from the horse's mouth as it'll be, and to hear your passion again for it is really enlightening. Joe, just to close with, and it's the first time we've caught up in a little while, in recent weeks we had the sad passing of one of the greatest boxers of all time, and arguably the greatest middleweight of all time, Marvin Hagley, who ruled the middleweight division for a long time in the 1980s. He passed away at the age of 66. What was your memories of Marvin Hagley?
So he was like one of my idols growing up. Brilliant. I know a lot of people say, but he was growing up. I loved the story. I loved the backdrop story. I always remember his fight. My very first time I watched his fight when he fought Antifermo, and then we seen Alan Minter. It was big news back then. Do you know what I mean? One of the 3 stations, big news. Alan Minter then going and beating Antifermo. And I always remember then, I think the Daily Mirror, I was telling everyone in the gym the other day, and they won't believe it, that Alan Minter said it at the time, says, no black man has got to beat me for my world title. And Marvin Hagler came over and got in and absolutely unleashed a hell of a beating on Alan Minter. And to look back on what Marvin Hagler went on and did from that, and not to have had his crowning moment, to be able to lift his arm up in the ring, to be announced world champion, to be given the belt in the ring, because the bottles and everything that was flooding into the ring was just shameful and disgusting. I think anyone that night that lifted a pint or threw a bottle must be mortified with themselves now. Do you understand? It was absolutely disgusting behaviour, and that's a sad note on Marvin on that issue. But what he did then after that, and like you say, one of his best performances, Tony Simpson was a brilliant fighter, and how he dismantled him in 6. And everyone always goes on about Hagler Leonard and them great fights, Hagler Hearns, but Hagler Mustafa Hamsho was brilliant in his time. Mugabe, a brilliant fight. Roldan, a brilliant fight. He was absolutely brilliant. He was the four kings. And people say to me, who won at Hagler Leonard? We watched it the other day with Callum Johnson, and still I can't split it because I love Sugar Ray Leonard as well coming through. But I understood Marvin. He was like anti-establishment, disrupt and destroy, war. And I remember when I joined Champs Camp Moss Side, and Phil used to have the big mural painted on it, and it was of Hagler and Duran. And that just summed the mentality out of that gym, and with Phil Martin as well. And but Marvin Hagler, I've met him numerous times. Lovely gentleman, great fighter, sorely missed. And it was just a shame he was never allowed to celebrate himself becoming a world champion. But one of the best of all time I've ever laced a pair of gloves.
Yeah, perfectly worded, Joe. Well, Joe, it's been great to catch up. I could sit here and chop up boxing with you all day, but I'll let you get back to the rest of your day. We've got the Manchester United FA Cup game later on. Hopefully, we can get a win there and push on.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed.
But yeah, Joe, you take care. It's been a pleasure, and we'll.
And you, mate. Good to catch up. Cheers. Thank you.